To Russia now, where early returns point to a victory for Vladimir Putin's party in the parliamentary elections there. But opposition parties already say the vote was tainted by electoral fraud. For more, our Russia correspondent Norman Hermont joins us now from Moscow. Norman, good morning. These exit polls are showing that victory for Vladimir Putin's party is going to be anything but emphatic.
That's right. It's not just exit polls anymore, Michael. It's now moved into actual counting. They'll be counting through the night here, but it does appear early results show that Vladimir Putin's United Russia Party, the ruling party, has suffered quite a setback in polls. They're approaching about 50, little bit under 50% of the vote. That's a big, big drop from how they did last time, where they got more than 60% of the vote. And importantly, the president of Russia, Dmitry Medvedev, who also backs United Russia, has appeared on television and said that United Russia is prepared to work with coalition partners in the parliament, in the Duma, which indicates United Russia may be admitting that it may not make a majority. They need about 225 seats for a majority. They may come slightly short of that. So it's going to be an interesting night here as counting goes on.
That's a big setback for United Russia. So who's doing well? Which parties are doing well in comparison?
Well, probably not surprisingly, but the Communist Party has nearly doubled support. So far, it's looking like it may hit 20%, which is up significantly. There's only 4 parties represented in the Duma because they have a 7% threshold to make it in. And those 4 parties, the 3 opposition parties, have all gained at United Russia's expense, it looks like. As this campaign went on, there were consistent indications that support for United Russia was slipping away, but many people thought, come election day, somehow, as things usually work in Russia, United Russia would manage to somehow manage the election, that they would get the number they wanted. That doesn't appear to have been the case. You mentioned opposition parties are charging that there was voter fraud, vote rigging, so that opens the possibility to the fact that this United Russia total could be a total with significant vote rigging added to it. So they may have done even worse than the total is showing.
Those protests, in fact, Norman, have been rather severe. A lot of people, a lot of members of opposition parties, a lot of supporters of opposition parties are essentially arguing that Vladimir Putin's party essentially has stolen the elections, care of that fraud, alleged fraud.
That's right. And that is really what's important to state, is that's really nothing new in post-Soviet Russian politics. Almost no election result has been accepted by opposition parties. But I think it's fair to say in 2007 and again this year, there are significant charges of allegations that United Russia has, especially in the provinces, really doctored the vote totals. We'll know more tomorrow. There are international observers here, but the opposition always says that in a country this big with 95,000 polling stations, it's virtually impossible to have enough observers to really document all the violations that go on. It's going to be interesting to see what happens in the days ahead as United Russia sets about the task of having to build coalition partners in the Duma, if that does turn out to be the case.
And finally, Norman, what does this disappointing result, at least so far, for United Russia mean for Vladimir Putin's efforts to reclaim the presidency in only 3 months' time?
Well, that's interesting. There's a real contradiction here because United Russia has done badly. Voters would seem to be sending a message to Vladimir Putin that we don't appreciate your leadership as prime minister. But in polls for the presidency, he really has no challenger. His numbers are at a level that anyone in the West would dream of, well north of 60%. So he's still basically considered to be unchallenged for the presidency in 3 months' time. And frankly, his timing may be pretty good. He may be going to the presidency as United Russia, this party that has to deal with the day-to-day running of government, is really starting to feel the dissatisfaction that many Russians feel in their everyday life.
Norman Hermont in Moscow, thank you very much for the update.